analogy back up.
Jesus incarnation.
It forces the mind to be creative.
Are just on a different path.
We completely disregard everything they've ever said or done as a result of that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Oz Table Talk. My name's Luke and I'm at the table with Steve, Dave and Ben. Good evening everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
You have to see if you can do that with your eyes closed one day.
Probably not. I'll probably totally forget who's here and it's just, you know. That's exactly why I eyeball everyone as I say their names, because otherwise I'm going to miss somebody. It's just, yeah.
To the table with Seth,
Well, at least it wasn't Sarah.
Yeah, when you're a parent, that happens. Like, she did something, and I'm like, oh, I meant to say, oh, sweet, like, don't do that, or whatever it was, but, like, in the minute, I'm like, oh, Seth, don't. And I just looked at her, she just stared at me for a minute. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
do you ever accidentally call her buddy?
Yes. I have done
That's hilarious.
I have definitely done
Hey,
that.
bud.
Yeah. But you know what? That is actually not nearly as funny as the fact I've called you sweet before. So,
well,
yeah.
I mean,
I am. What can I say?
it's not where I was going, but anyway. I'll take it if that's what you're offering.
Oh man. But yeah, coming from me, it's not a high bar to pass, okay? Like, if I called you the wrong name, live with it.
I was going to say, what does that mean?
I mean, it's likely that I'm going to call people the wrong name.
Okay.
Cool, man. Okay, so how's everybody's week been? Let's get off me calling people names.
Yeah, my week's been good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. What about you?
Lots of work on at the moment at work, so the days are going fast. I like that.
Nice.
That's good. It's very, very similar. Just chipping away at different little jobs, and
Yep.
went back to the subdivision I'm looking after, so that was good.
Mhm.
The project manager there is such a lad.
Yeah.
So that's good. Good to work with good people.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah. For me, work's picked up. It's far enough away from Christmas that now that businesses have actually gotten rolling again, it's a case of, oh, we need accounting work done.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, we're making money.
Yeah, that's right. We need to do something about this.
Yeah.
Before we start having to pay money.
Yes.
How about you?
Yeah, good. I am so happy that I've got a haircut because I hate it when my hair's untidy, and today I got the haircut. So I'm feeling good about that. So,
Okay. That's good.
so, and by the way, it's actually all your fault. I was saying earlier today, it's Dave's fault because he recommended this barber, and I went there, and I was so happy with what they did. I don't want to go anywhere else now, and so, but because everybody else has the same experience, it's very hard to get an appointment there. And so, like, I've been waiting for like a stupid amount of time just to get a haircut, and so I am glad that it's done. But it's all Dave's fault.
You really have to plan ahead for them.
Yeah. There were like two people came in like trying to like convince them to put them in, and he's like, no, like there's just no time, just no, go away.
Because they advertise as doing walk-ins, but they
just
had time
can't
to do that for such a long time.
Yeah.
They should take the sign down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he said literally he works like half a day on Saturdays, but he's considering not doing that and opening because they don't open on Mondays right now. And he said, I'm thinking about opening Mondays because there's so much demand. I'd be better off opening on Monday and having a normal weekend like everybody else.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, do that.
Yeah.
Like, why
Get
wouldn't
your
you?
weekend back.
Yeah, get your weekend back, exactly. So, what are we talking about tonight?
We're doing our first book review.
I know.
It is our first one, isn't it?
Yeah,
I remember
we've only
Yes.
talked about doing it for 6 years,
Yeah.
so it's good that we're actually starting, I guess.
Yeah.
So you probably, for those of you that are watching the video, you probably noticed that the book is not on the table, and that's because we all did it digitally. So
Yeah. And also, we should acknowledge that the table doesn't exist in the episodes that precede this book review because we're a long way behind. As in, the episodes that this book review is going with were recorded, a month?
Oh, okay, yeah.
2 months ago, nearly? Yeah, 2 months.
2 months ago, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when we were sitting around the table last time, it was a black
Picnic table.
plastic table last
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
This is true.
anyway, random.
Yeah, that's good though. It's good to give context because otherwise it would be kind of confusing for people.
Yeah.
Boom.
So yeah, for context, for you guys who weren't actually, were you present for the recordings with Dan? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Of course you were.
Yep.
For you, Steve, we did a series of psychological investigations with Dr. Dan Banos. And yeah, that was really cool. So yeah, we sort of just picked a few Bible characters and just analysed their experience through the lens of a psychologist, and yeah, just learnt how to cope with mental health challenges, how he would have advised those characters. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys have just listened to that series, I would imagine, if you're watching this video.
Yeah.
And the reason why we picked this particular book, which is called The Brain Warrior's Way, is because it's a book that Dr. Dan recommended to me several years ago, as a sort of holistic look at mental health. Yeah, so it's called The Brain Warrior's Way. How would you guys summarize the book in a sentence or two?
In a sentence or two. This is hard, Dave. This is hard work here.
It's good asking the questions.
Yeah, I know you think now,
I
right?
don't know why he does it now.
If I was going to summarize it, I would say it is a look at your mental health from every system of the body, right? From like from the physical perspective, you want to have the biology of your brain working really well, but he goes through that through nutrition and social aspects of it, and ultimately gets you to the psychology end of it as well, and talks about optimal brain health, I guess you could say, in each one of those silos.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say it would advocate for a certain, do these lifestyle changes, and you'll see results with mental health and, well, just general health as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I would have summarized it, as a lifestyle guide.
Yeah.
Or more of a jumping off point, a resource.
Yeah.
And as the title indicates, being The Brain Warrior's Way, the book does see health as very much a fight. And that comes because one of the authors, she actually had a fight with cancer years before they wrote the book. And so her experience has been one of literally sort of fighting against this disease that was threatening to kill her. So yeah, I think that's an important context as well for the book, because it really does treat health as a struggle.
Yeah.
And if you can win the war at the lifestyle level, then you're going to succeed in the battle. But if you're not facing it that way, they sort of present it that way. That if you're not winning it daily at the lifestyle level, you've got no chance, essentially.
Yeah, it presents it, and that's probably one thing that I found, I'm not saying it's wrong, but one thing I found uncomfortable about the book is it's very binary. It presents health as, well, if you are doing all of this stuff,
you'll be right.
You will be fine, you're a brain warrior. If you fail on one point, you're in the ditch and you're going to die early. That's sort of the way they paint it.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about that? Do you think that's helpful? What do you think they were trying to achieve by that?
Do the things that stop you from being sick, or isn't it expensive to be this healthy? No, it's more expensive to be sick. Which is particularly true in America, where they don't cover healthcare. But yeah, I think that from their perspective, they're saying this is just the better way in every way. But I actually felt a little bit uncomfortable with the way they were framing it. And I was saying to Steve as we were cleaning up after dinner, I feel like one thing that possibly has made me feel like that is, I think their target audience is probably a fairly narrow slice of the population, those that see health in that way, right? But if you were using this book to communicate to somebody who didn't see health like that already, I think it could be quite intense, and maybe off-putting, just because, again, they do take a very sort of, they treat it like war, and that comes across in the book. It's very strong language. It's very, forceful. Which, again, if that's what you're looking for, it's a great book. If that's not what you're looking for, it's going to be uncomfortable. Does that mean the principles are wrong? No, not necessarily. I'm just saying, the communication style was something that I don't think would resonate with everybody.
I suppose it could be quite overwhelming for people with that with the language they use as well, because it's a case of it's talking about a completely different lifestyle to what the average person would have. And there's a lot of change there, and a lot of change all at once is a very, very tall order for people.
I like the way that they present it. It's great. If you can just jump on the train and be all in, that's great. But if you can't, they spend a fair bit of time talking about the alternative option, which is to like one brick in the wall at a time, right? Like, okay, add one good habit and then add another good habit.
Which is exactly how you get there.
Yeah, that's right. I think that is way more effective for the majority of people anyway. I know it certainly is for me. Like when I got through listening to the book, my thinking wasn't, okay, well, I need to chuck out all of this stuff that's in my pantry. My thought was, okay, well, when I make this dish, which is something I do regularly, well, I'm going to substitute this for that. And so, I get like, 20% closer. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm doing this bit of exercise every day. And so that gets me that bit closer. And so you just keep adding things to it. That's how I approached it.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I noticed even listening to it, like, to be real, listening to this book felt a lot like listening to my mum rant for 11 hours straight. So
Hi, Danielle.
Yeah, hi, Danielle. Hi, Mum.
We got to make sure we send this episode to her.
Yeah, so that was fun and engaging. But
wait, hang on. I got to ask the question. Does she actually know that you've read the book at this point?
I don't think so. No, I don't admit this.
That's it.
Yeah, but I found it whilst I didn't agree with everything that the book said, that it was like inspirational in the point that like it is like mental health and our ability to be healthy like is a choice that we can have. And I've found myself almost like guilted into making like better decisions, like because like on a hot day at work, like you go by Hungry Jack's, like $1 for like a frozen raspberry or whatever, but that's like full of sugar, so I'm like I've only got a boost. So stuff like that I like, but I don't know if I could do the whole throw everything out. Like what they say would be very challenging, even incrementally, like being a vegetarian, and I know for like people in the audience can probably relate to this, being a vegan or vegetarian already is like such a pain in the butt for most like social gatherings. So it's like, oh, I'm just raw.
They actually talked about that in the book as to how you would practically combat that, though. Hey, which I think
so much effort, though.
I think though that what I wanted to say, like on a positive note, because I don't want to the whole time be slagging the book off, but like I think what they did do is they did provide lots of practical alternatives. So like they were talking, for example, if you were going somewhere where you were suspecting you weren't going to be able to get the kind of food that you needed, or that you'd be particularly tempted, for example, to eat something that you really shouldn't eat. Or drink something you shouldn't drink, or whatever, that you take something along with you, so that you then feel compelled to eat well. But it's a good suggestion.
Or at the very least, make sure you've eaten really well before you go.
Would that stop you?
Me? No. Personally? Not really.
That's what I thought.
But it helps. I mean, one of the things they talk about is when you're shopping, making sure you've always, your blood sugars are nice and even when you shop. And I'm like, oh, that is so true.
That's a good rule just in general.
Just generally, exactly. Because whenever I'm shopping, it's like if my sugars are low, if I'm hungry, I walk around like thinking, what could I open like when I get out of this place? Like, it's just a terrible way to shop.
Everything.
So in Exodus 15, it says, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. That sounds pretty binary as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like ultimately, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying, like, I think what they were saying is essentially the same as what this passage says, that if we do the right thing by our body, that God will work in our body to, I guess, be free from or, overcome or whatever the diseases of, common lifestyle diseases that we might face.
I think that was one thing that really stood out to me about it as well, that when they're talking about this sort of thing, like the book, what's I'm looking for, the aim of the book is the brain warrior's way. Like the whole thing is focused around the health of our brain. And the point that they made really clear at the beginning, not that I disagreed with it before, but I guess I never thought about it in the same way, but is the fact that in order for your brain to be healthy, like every other system that the body has must be working at its peak, because all of those support the brain. And when I was thinking about that, I'm like, man, that makes so much sense, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like mental degeneration is a lot scarier to me than physical degeneration.
It's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, when I saw that connection in the book, like I said, even though it wasn't completely new, the fact it was framed that way, I'm like, yeah, man, I've got to pay attention to this.
Yeah, like especially like their target diseases were like Alzheimer's, dementia, obesity, like like the lifestyle diseases like that, all diseases that have been linked to having lifestyle causes to making them like accelerated or worse.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that the principles that they shared are essentially what we might refer to as the 8 laws of health, and we're going to do a series on this at some point in the future, so we can elaborate more then. But this is kind of like fairly mainstream understanding these days of a lifestyle way to tackle, health. And they are nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and then also we would say trust in God. Or others might add, a different element in there.
Yeah, but there's a spiritual need
yeah,
that we all
that's
have.
right. Yeah, it's attending to that spiritual side of you. So, and what they were essentially recommending is that in these 8 areas, if we can take care of ourselves in these 8 areas, that will support brain health, as you were saying. And that is mental well-being, but also, as you were saying, like just physical condition. And they talk a lot about that. Like they reference brain scans a lot throughout the book.
Did anyone else want to get one of those?
Not really.
Kind of, but kind of scared of what it would show.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just all in. Like, if there was like an easy way that I could get that scan, I would be there tomorrow. Like, I'm so curious.
You're not worried about what you might find?
Wouldn't you prefer to know?
Yeah, I would prefer to know, because then I can do something about it. It's a case of
Exactly.
you're not going la-di-da and then all of a sudden it just strikes you down.
Yeah. Yes. See, I'm with this guy.
Geriatrics over
Yeah,
here.
that's what I was going to say. Do you think this is the fact that we're on the older end of the spectrum in this room?
Well, I know. I'm in my mid-30s now. It's a case of if I don't start taking care of myself now, I will regret it probably in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just worried that there'd be this big empty space in there.
I don't think that's possible with your brain, Dave.
No.
So that was something that was really interesting, right? That physical component of how healthy our brain is, and that they can actually determine that based on scans. So I'm not sure what they're looking for exactly. I'm guessing there'd be like the actual physical health of the muscle, but also that
They said that was the primary thing.
Okay, I don't remember that.
They were looking at the amount of activity in the different areas of the brain, and that indicated what was working well, like where the conduction was greatest, and
Right.
like what was working well, and where there were limited areas of health. One of the things that I thought was really interesting about that is that a lot of people think of mental health as being this like nebulous term that's kind of hard to
in the mind.
Yeah, in the mind, it's not real. And one of the things that really stood out to me, and probably one of the reasons that I thought, man, I'd love to actually do that, is that they said a lot of people that don't perceive themselves to be having a significant problem or whatever, when they have the scan, it's like getting an X-ray, and you can say, hey, this bone is broken, and so we need to put a cast on your arm. You can't do that with the brain until they got this scan, right? So this scan, you can do that and say, hey, look, this node of your brain is not firing. We need to do something to fix that. And so you actually then have a scan where you know what's broken and you can go and fix it. And that's really attractive. Like, I find that really attractive. One of the examples that they gave was this guy that was doing like strength demonstrations, and he would. Do you remember this? Steve remembers this one. A guy was headbutting like concrete panels or whatever it was.
I just want to see someone break 6 feet of concrete with their head. Like, I just can't imagine it. Like, I hit my head on like a door or something. I'm like,
yeah, no, it's all out, right? I was like, but he was like doing that in these strength demonstrations like multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And
Man, you reckon he'd done thousands of them
over the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
his head on concrete, thousands of. How is he still
he's literally a crackhead.
functioning?
But he said like literally he shouldn't have been in the like when they got the scans, he shouldn't have been functional, right? But then he had the scans and they knew what was wrong, and over time he's worked himself.
Pretty sure I knew what was wrong before.
Yes. So, but yeah, I think that just goes to show diagnostic is really important.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually one of the reasons why mental health in general has such a stigma attached to it, because it's very hard to show.
Yeah, it's a bit ambiguous.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's very hard to say, oh, you know, if someone's got a cast on or they're in a wheelchair, you're automatically going to yield to that person. It's like, hey, can I get that for you if you've dropped that? You know, like it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone's got an anxiety disorder or something like that, you can't see that. You might be able to see that they don't like showing up to social engagements, or that they, you know, feel uncomfortable answering the phone call, or like whatever it may. You can see those things, but they don't really all mount up until you've known the person really well for a long period of time. So I think that's one of the reasons why. So can I just talk a little bit about something, a concept they went to later in the book, which I think is possibly related here, but they talked a lot about this idea of being a sheepdog. And I really appreciated that later in the book as well, because it talks about, yes, we need to get our health right, but in doing that, that's one of the best ways we can be protective of the people that are around us, making the assumption that the people around you are the people you love the most. You want the best for them too. And yeah, they go to a lot of length to describe how you can be an advocate for the health of the people around you without pushing them away. And I thought that was a really valuable part of the book for me. So.
Well, I think it always comes back to one of the best advocates is people often see the change in you when you've gone through that, whether that's going to the gym for the first time, or well, with this working on your physical and mental health. It's a case of look at the changes that's occurred in my life, and they are people come up and ask, oh, what's changed? And you can give them, well, this is the path I've gone on. And it's a fantastic way. It's the same with our Christian walk, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of, and like you said, Dave, we're going to talk more about this in a future series, but one of the things that obviously in our church, there's a big emphasis on health in a holistic fashion. And
is there though?
There was.
okay,
certain sections of the church still is.
Let's say ideologically the church is in favor of this. But something you said, Dave. We were hanging out at just lost location. Motivation to be healthy and to eat well, and that it really is about the people, like wanting to. It's a love motivation, right? You want to serve the people around you for as long as possible. You don't want to be a burden on them for the last 10 years of your life or whatever. You know, you want to be the one looking after everyone else. And ever since you said that to me, that changed how I related to my own health a lot, because I started to look at Sarah and look at the boys and go, yeah, you know, I don't want to put them in the position where I've like totally, you know, drained my body and somehow then I either die early and can't look after them, or I'm incapacitated for years. You know, I don't want to be in that position. And so I think if you are looking for a motivation that's not just, you know, hey, you know, let's get healthy, and you know, because that's not enough for some people, right? That you need, this is why I'm talking about this. In the book, it talks a lot about finding the reason, like the real reason behind why you want to get well and why you want to prioritize your health. Because if you don't have a good reason, then if there's a bowl of chocolate on the table, then
you're just going to eat it.
You're just going to eat it. Like, why wouldn't you, right? So, and I think for me anyway, that is the real reason behind that for me. Like, I want to be that. And there are examples that I can think of people in my life who are in their 80s and still being that person of looking after everyone around them. And I see that, I'm like, yeah, like, I want to sign up for that. That's who I want to be. So that's, I guess, part of my why.
Yeah. It's basically stewardship, eh? It's like, God gave us, you know, this temple to exist in for a finite period of time to minister to others. Yeah. And so we don't just look after the temple for the sake of looking after the temple. We look after the temple so that we can bless other people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to share some of the principles that they listed in the book as being, you know, relevant from a like particular nutrition perspective to brain health. Just so that we're, you know, putting out some of the content there. Yeah. And maybe also we could just talk about some of the correlations that they were talking about between these lifestyle factors and different areas of health, whether it be brain health, or they spoke about several other things as well. So the first of the 10 nutrition principles that they bring out in one of the chapters in the book is focus on high quality calories. So I think even though we're not in America, everyone just refers to the standard American diet now as like the Western diet, right? Yeah. So in that diet, there's a lot of focus on empty calories, you know, whether it be simple carbohydrates or whatever else that might be in the diet.
Yep. All calories are not created equal.
Thank you. Yeah. And so, you know, you might be getting, you know, a great deal of fill out of your food, but not necessarily a great deal of health out of it. And you'll be putting on extra weight, and you'll be feeling full, but not actually necessarily meeting the needs of your brain and your body, because your brain really does need a lot of nutrition to function well. So it's really important to have that those high quality calories. They also spoke about drinking plenty of ounces.
I didn't actually work that out. Is that like considerably more than what the normal person would drink?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's some debate online as to whether or not that's a reasonable application.
Okay.
But what we can certainly agree with is that drinking plenty of water and being well hydrated is very good for your brain health. It's
Well, your
really
brain is
important.
brain is dominantly water, and
Yeah.
so you want to promote that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does actually seem like a lot.
Yeah.
I've actually worked out how to do ounces and things recently with cooking,
Mhm.
because I've had to convert it so many times.
I think it's weight in pounds though, not in kilos.
Okay.
It is, but so
Wouldn't
for
that
me
make it
that would
more?
be about
Yeah.
80 odd ounces of water. How much is that in?
From
Yes.
80, that would be...
Hey Siri, convert 80 ounces into liters.
80 fluid ounces is 2.37 litres.
Okay,
That's not that
that's
much.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's achievable.
Anyway, what I was going to say is
Sorry,
on a practical level.
Yeah, well, that's how I do my cooking, is a case of, what's this in this? And I usually Hey Siri.
Yeah, I hate Siri everything. Sorry.
You finished?
It didn't
Yeah,
start.
I'm done. I'm just geeking out over here. It's
Yeah,
okay.
righto, thanks. They recommend a good way to start the day with an alkalizing drink as well, in that sense of keeping yourself well hydrated. And they talk about having warm water with lemon and ginger, which does sound like a pretty nice way to start the day, honestly.
Yeah, it really helps with starting the digestion as well, so yeah.
I mean, a nice way to start the day is in it's good for you, right?
No, also lemon and ginger. What's wrong with that? Do you not like lemon and ginger?
Not like that. In cooking, yes, but I don't know. That just doesn't sound enticing to me.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
just a glass
You're
of
lost.
water
You're
is
gonna die.
really
You're gonna
good.
die young now.
Binary. There's no two ways about it.
Go on, son.
The next principle they shared was to eat high quality protein in small doses throughout the day. I don't subscribe to the small doses throughout the day side of things. You guys can disagree with me there if you like. I think it's important to have a space between your meals so your body can digest thoroughly. Otherwise, you end up with fermentation in your gut. But anyway, that's beside the point. The real point is eating high quality protein.
And small amounts.
Yeah, and so what they spoke about, for example, is if you're going to eat meat products, to be really careful about the kind of meat products that you're eating, that it's not going to be pumped full of hormones, for example, because then you're not going to be getting high quality food, right? So yeah, whatever protein source you choose, just be sensible about the way you source that protein, essentially. They talk about eating smart carbohydrates. It wasn't GI, they talked about GL. Is it GL?
Yeah, GL, glycemic load.
Yeah.
So you might have something has a low glycemic index, but if all of that hits your bloodstream at the same time, it's still giving you a spike, right? And so low glycemic load is when it will track for a long period of time, and so your actual sugar levels don't spike off the charts when it hits your bloodstream.
And so they were talking about an example of that, for example, is watermelon might be really high on the glycemic index because it's full of sugar, but because it's also like so much water, when your body's digesting it, it's going to be, I can't remember what they said about it, but they were saying that the GL for watermelon is a lot lower than the GI, for example. So anyway, they were talking about, when they talk about smart carbohydrates, they were talking about low glycemic index or load and high fiber, essentially. So
I think that section of I mean, obviously all of these things are important, but just listening to it, I feel from my diet anyway, I feel like this is probably one of the things that is the highest benefit for the lowest input. Like, it's something that if you give thought to trying to keep your blood sugars even, I think that has a lot of really positive, external positive impacts.
So you're saying it's easy to do. How would you do it?
Well, when I say easy to do, I mean in comparison to a lot of the other things, just as far as trying to limit, because I've been trying to do it in my cooking and that, trying to limit the amount of sugars and trying to think more about adding more fiber to things, just trying to balance that out more. So but basically in those two broad sections, think about where the majority of the sugar is in your food, or when you're cooking, I'm always thinking, is this salty enough? Is it sweet enough? And so when I'm doing that, now I'm trying to think, well, okay, it might not be as sweet as I want it, but do I actually need more? And if I do need more, how do I get that sweetness without just putting something in there that's like really like direct sugars, like honey or sugar or whatever.
Brown sugar's my favorite.
Yeah, I know. I try to avoid that, and I've been trying to avoid that for a while. So it's in the cupboard, but it doesn't happen very often. So
There's a bit of guilt going on over here.
Yeah. I was cut when they were like, no honey. I was like, bro, that's breakfast.
Now I've just got images of you sitting with a bowl of honey.
yeah,
Literally, I eat a lot of honey.
Yeah. Honey is good.
Yeah.
The Bible says so.
They probably
Keep
didn't have
salt.
access to it like we do, though.
yeah. Having said that, I have been using stevia or experimenting with stevia for a while, and a lot of people don't like it. Like Sarah doesn't like it, and so I'm sort of limited in what I can put it in. But I actually don't mind it.
Like-
I don't find it bad at all.
What's the jury on that? Because, I don't know, I haven't heard that it's, like, I don't know.
It's a non-caloric sweetener, so it doesn't actually impact your blood sugars at all.
Yeah, it's like it's good for that reason, but is it like harmful in other ways? I don't know, because the book was going on about it, especially in the last few
because talking
chapters.
about the sugar alcohol.
Are you talking about stevia sweeteners or stevia?
Oh,
Because there is a difference.
yeah, okay.
Like
So you're talking like the
if you're
plant.
talking about
Yeah,
like
that's-
pure stevia, is that what you're talking about, or are you
I'm-
talking about sweetener?
I'm talking about sweetener.
Yeah, because that's what they talk about in the book, and I was like,
I would
question
stick to
mark.
honey, to be honest.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah?
Yeah. Unless you can get something that's actually pure stevia,
Yeah.
which will have a bitter aftertaste.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah, it
actually...
does.
Well, I should check because I actually think it's distilled, right? It's in crystal form, but I'm pretty sure there's not a lot. I think it's just stevia. I have to look.
It's pretty much stevia. It's just you'd have to look into the process more because I was quite curious about that.
Yeah.
Because I want to grow stevia, and I was just like, oh, how do I make this look like sugar? Well, you've got to. It's a process where they kind of just break it down in alcohol, and then they pull the alcohol back out. And it's a case of, well, that's too complicated for me because I'm bound to muck that up. So
You
Boil
just
it
see him like, I've made all these desserts. Wow, a really good one. Okay.
Oh, that was worth it.
That was a good impression. I like it.
Stop. Okay, I'm done.
You're a happy drunk.
I'm tapping out.
But
Anyway.
yeah, I agree. A stevia bush in the backyard would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, you can get really good quality stevia to use as a sweetener,
Yeah.
but then you can also get the I don't know what they call
Yeah.
them, but those sweetener things that
Yeah.
are part stevia and part
No.
whatever else.
No,
which
no, no.
is-
The one I've got actually is stevia. I thought you were just meaning was it processed or not yet, but it is. Yeah, I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like I mean, the reason why I said like I just stick with honey. I mean, you've got to obviously be in moderation with any sweetener, but I think the good thing about honey is it comes with its own vitamins and minerals. So as far as like if you're eating an empty sugar, like just say white sugar in comparison to honey, your body has got to sacrifice vitamins and minerals to digest the sugar. Whereas with honey, it doesn't have to do that. It can digest it readily.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway,
And it tastes good.
Yeah. I'm with
Yeah,
you
it
though. I
does.
like honey. I'm with you.
Anyway, we should move on though. So
Probably.
focusing on healthy fats.
Yeah.
Again, pretty obvious, pretty evident. Probably what I would say about that one is think about what is coming with the fats as well. Like so, for example, if you're looking at fish as a source for your fats, you just need to think what other things am I getting with this source of fat. Whereas if
Like
you
heavy metals.
yeah, if you're getting a plant,
Microplastics.
Yeah.
if you're getting a plant-based fat source in your diet, at least then you're getting a more pure version of fat.
Yeah, and I like how they said like our body needs fat to like, especially our like synapses and like our brain like uses fat. So it's not like fat's bad. It's like no. Like
All that-
saturated fat's bad, and like
The history on that was
super
interesting
processed
too,
fat's
right?
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Didn't mean
But
to-
I was going to say, all of our body's hormones are actually just a lot of them are all processed through the fats we take in.
Yeah.
So if we don't get enough fats, our hormones will actually go out of balance.
Yeah. That sounds so funny saying that.
Yeah. I know, but that's because
Eat your fats.
Yeah.
we're conditioned, right? We're conditioned to think, oh, well, fat's bad, so don't eat it.
Yeah.
But I was so interested to know that. When was it? Was it the 70s? I think it was the 80s.
Yeah, whenever it was.
But before that, it wasn't a thing. People didn't think of fats as being the problem in the diet. So I just found that fascinating. So.
Yeah, it's all about eating the right fats.
Yeah, the right fats. And I find it interesting because there's a lot of, in a lot of medical literature, there's a lot of back and forth about coconut oil, for example. And, they're in favor of it, right, if I recall correctly.
Don't remember.
Yeah, not coming to
I
me.
think they were
I think so.
olives.
You might be thinking of palm oil,
Olive
which
oil.
is bad.
Yeah, palm oil is bad, but a lot of people, because coconut oil is a saturated fat, and so people like go, oh, well, saturated fats are universally bad. But what they were saying in there, I'm trying to remember, I have to double check, but they were saying that because of the way it's constructed and the way the body processes it, it doesn't function the same way as the saturated fats that you would eat that would be in animal products, as an example. So, yeah, it's so complex. It's really hard to you know get the final word on what is actually right and wrong. But I think if we make the right decisions at the macro level, all the small stuff that's not we don't quite understand, we can always figure that out in the future or whatever. But if we get the big wins and don't worry so much about the
Before you did your big disclaimer to round up, I think a good principle to go with is wherever possible, eat the food in its original source. So rather than eating coconut oil, eat coconut. Rather than eating olive oil, eat olives. And that's not to say don't use coconut oil or olives. But that's the best source that you can get is when it's in its whole state. And the same is true, like when we were talking about smart carbohydrates, the same is true of eating whole grains rather than refined grains, or whole sugars rather than refined sugars, or any form of food essentially. Wherever possible, eat it in its packaging that God delivered it in, rather than pulling it apart and picking out the components of it that you like. If we pull out those things and we refine them and we use lots of those things, like you were saying, Solomon might not have had access to as much honey as you do. I think he did, but
Solomon, but maybe not the people that were living under his reign.
But yeah, I mean, your point is valid, right? In that, like, so for example, I love cashews. Cashews are a great nut. But if I had to go and harvest my own cashews, there's no way I'd be eating as many cashews as I do. Yeah. Right? So yeah, quite often, and the same with macadamia nuts. They're like
hard
the best of all the nuts, but yeah, very hard to get into. And I think there's a little warning there in the packaging. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. We can talk about that at the health series. Principle 6 was eat from the rainbow. They talked about this as a principle of detoxification, which I'm not sure with whether there's a great deal of evidence for that, but what there definitely is evidence for is that there is phytochemicals and antioxidants in every different color of food that we need, right? And the only way to get all of them is to eat all the different colors. So yeah, again, when you're having a balanced diet, you will tend to see lots of colors on your plate. If you see a lot of yellow on your plate, you probably need to be getting some other things going on, right? Because although there's still great benefit in the yellows and browns in the phytochemical community, the best value comes in the greens and the reds and the purples and the bright colors, right? But unfortunately, a lot of our refined processed foods end up being in that sort of yellow and brown category. Cook with brain healthy, none of that.
All of them.
Yeah.
As long as they're not in a drink, apparently.
Oh yeah.
If herbs and spices are in a drink, it should be like chai.
Yeah, that's right. That's a fair call, actually. If I was going to have a drink, it'd be chai.
I really resonated that because that was so a few months ago I started my own garden, and that was the first thing I started with because, let's face it,
What have you got in it, Ben?
all sorts of things. I've just put in mint because my last mint one is already finished. So I've got basil, I've got parsley, I've just put in ginger, garlic, and turmeric.
Okay, nice.
So
nice. Turmeric is so valuable.
Oh yeah,
it's like such a good spice. Yeah.
And I'm just going to grow it until I've got more than enough, and I'll just give away what I because that's the other thing, you can give away what you can't have with your own garden. I'm putting
Do you have rosemary in there?
That's on the agenda. My last
Gotta have rosemary in there.
Yeah.
Although
Grows
we're not
like a
allowed to
weed.
have potatoes anymore, so
Yeah,
yeah, they're pretty down on potatoes in this book. Sorry, guys.
They're like, eat sweet potatoes. So we
Yeah.
can do it with sweet potatoes.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
It's not the same.
I don't quite understand what the big deal was with potatoes.
Is anybody else hanging out for the time joke? As Ben is telling, I've got this, I've got that. Okay.
No.
I've got
times
time
on my list of things,
But
but
yeah, time's on your list, is
Yes,
it?
I'll have all
Don't
of
leave
the
it too
surplus.
long, will you?
Yeah,
but
I'll have all
basically,
of your surplus.
Here's the thing: if you're going to try and grow your own herb garden,
No.
make sure whatever you're growing isn't going to take over the rest of the herbs because
that's
it will
mint.
kill
Yeah, why'd you
everything
put
else.
mint in there?
Yeah. Mint's a weed.
Literally.
I've just got some old tire, so it's going to live
Oh,
in its own tire.
It's got its own garden.
yeah.
It's got its own tire. Stay.
Basically,
I put you in the naughty corner. You stay on your own.
because
it's like
It's a
goes
tire.
over.
It doesn't have corners.
yeah, because
Oh.
Boy, gentlemen.
Must be late.
What is
Dad
wrong with
jokes
you all
coming out.
tonight?
Cracking
What's
out
wrong
the
with
big
you all?
guns.
The drunk guy over here.
Y'all.
the other thing in the book I quite liked talking about gardens is which ones are worth growing as far as pesticide
Yes.
amounts were in.
Yeah, that
and
was good.
I thought that was so interesting. So I was thinking I was leaning towards growing a few more greens in my own garden because they go off so quickly in the supermarket. It's nice to have them fresh. I mean, for instance, I'm growing it's nice and hot at the moment, so spinach normally wouldn't be able to grow. I grow a Brazilian version of it,
Okay.
and it just thrives in the heat. In summer, it just keeps growing.
Is that one of those ones that grows like a vine?
No, it's got little shoots
Coloured
off.
stalks.
Not coloured. It's still all green, but the leaves are probably thicker than normal spinach.
Okay.
You want to guess?
Your turn.
Guessing
I'm
game.
listening. I thought that was the.
Oh, Steve, star pupil.
But it's one of those things where you would normally get a lot of the pesticides stay in
Yeah.
what you're eating, and it's nice to actually know that the worst pesticide that I'm using on it is chili and garlic.
Yeah.
That's a nice flavour for your greens.
I was about to say, just make sure you wash it real well before you use it.
Yeah.
Too bad if you start
But-
spraying your blueberries with it. That's an odd flavour. Chili blueberries.
Might be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, blueberries was actually another one
Yeah.
they recommended.
Blueberries and strawberries.
Yeah.
Gotta
Yeah.
grow them at home.
Man,
Yeah.
cut about the strawberries though, eh?
Yeah.
Especially here because you got so
So
ready
many good
access to them.
strawberries, yeah.
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 Well, the next one was make sure your food is as clean as possible. So thanks, Ben. Organic, antibiotic free, hormone free, pesticide free, chemical free. Anyway.
Which
That-
means it's not free.
Yeah, really not free.
Yeah, that's a really hard one to
Which
do,
is
isn't
why
it?
growing at home is always a great option. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, I guess from our perspective, we're probably not as hardcore as the brain warriors are. But we would probably say just do your best, right? You know, If
Exactly.
you can get organic, get organic. If you can't afford to get organic, then get plants, you know?
Yeah.
It's at least it's a step up from Macca's.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know whether I was allowed to do that, but anyway, eliminate any potential allergens or internal attackers like gluten. So yeah, they talked about how if your body is not liking something you're putting in, then you know trying to figure that out and erasing that from your diet's a good thing.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know a ton of people who are at least intolerant, if not allergic to gluten. So that's probably a good thing to just check out, you know, just go for a while without it and see if you've noticed any improvements. You know, in some cases it can just literally be you don't feel so like lethargic because sometimes, and that's not to say that if you feel lethargic, you're gluten intolerant. It could be many other things, but
Sleep.
yeah, I mean, that's probably right up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's when I was thinking that, looking through it, I was thinking through all my headache triggers. So, chocolate, cheese.
Basically, they tell you
Caffeine.
don't do any of that.
Yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
I can eat a lot, but there comes a certain point where I'll eat. I just go just that little bit over. And it's a case of okay, you're down for 2 days now because you ate like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of sleep, the last one was when you eat your dinner, leave 12 hours before you eat your breakfast. So they say to fast for at least 12 hours a night. And we were discussing earlier that, you know, in a lot of cases that's pretty easy to do if you're, you know, having dinner at a reasonable time and then getting up and, you know, starting your day, you know, at sort of an average time. But if you're like Steve-O and you got to go to work early,
Not that early.
sometimes that can be hard. No, it can be hard though to
Yeah,
get 12 hours. And so the point is not 12 hours. The point is give your stomach a good rest overnight, you know.
Yeah.
So don't be eating at like midnight and then eating breakfast at 6 or
No midnight snacks.
And on that point, they talked about doing intermittent, not intermittent fasting, but like as in doing
That principle.
That principle,
Yeah.
but they talked about doing a longer fast every so often.
Yeah.
And that will help your body purge precancerous cells and a whole bunch of other like really good
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
'cause-
good for clarity, eh?
Yeah.
Go on a couple day fast.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
be thinking real clear about
Yeah,
at
'cause-
least one thing.
Yeah, food. Yeah, but it was really interesting because I just remembered it talked about how the brain needs all of that gone so they can wash all the toxins out or something.
Yeah. And I found that really interesting because I actually did that a longer term fast. I was planning, I was sort of like trying just to go, I'll see how far I can go. Like that was my thinking.
40 days and 40 nights.
No, what
Dies.
like the maximum that I was thinking would be like a 72-hour fast. Like that was like the maximum I was thinking. I didn't expect to get that far, but like that would be where I would have topped out and just said, "No, I'll get back to eating now." But like if it was just me, I think I would have done it. But like literally, it was just the kids having a bad day, and like there was so much stress going on, and I just needed the calories to make my brain function again and like not be a bad dad. And so I hit about 40 hours, and I was like,
That's still pretty decent.
Yeah, 40 is not bad.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'd starve to death before that.
Oh dear.
It was a cool experience though because it's really clear like when your body goes through the different phases of the fast and, and you're like, oh, okay, yep, now okay, the glucagon is stopping. Okay, maybe it wasn't.
It's been a while since he ate.
But it was a good experience anyway. And so I'm just advising that if you're happy and healthy and want to try something that is like you wouldn't do all the time, but it's worthy. It's worthwhile doing.
Yeah. Did you get past the hungry stage?
Yeah, I did.
How long did that take you?
39 hours.
I probably noticed the second morning, which I was like, oh, I'm not nearly as hungry as I was the previous morning. Yeah. So I think it would be much easier if I wasn't cooking for everybody else.
Yeah.
So because like cooking for a family of 4 and you're the only one that's not eating what you're cooking, that's not very easy.
Because when you start smelling the food,
you automatically
activates digestion.
Yeah. So if I didn't have that, I think it would have been heaps easier. Yeah.
That's a good experience though. You should definitely give it a go.
Yeah.
Ben's like.
I've been thinking about going, I should do that. I don't want to do that, but I should do that.
We should coordinate and like all like try to do it at the same time and like compare notes on the experience.
We should do it for a purpose though.
Yeah.
It's always good to fast for a reason.
Sure.
I mean,
I'm down for that.
I feel like I need a reason.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Purging precancerous cells isn't a reason?
No, what I mean is if you're going to go through that level of suffering, you should at least be praying for something.
But I'm serious. Let's think about that. Let's figure
I'm
out what
happy.
that-
I'd do it.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay. Let's think about a reason so Dave's happy about it though.
I'll be a little bit happier too.
Steve's not in there.
Yeah.
I'll
It'd be
think
harder
about
with
it.
your job, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, even though I don't get that hungry during the day, like, you still need to feed at night.
Yeah.
You're coming
Could do it
back,
over a weekend,
so
maybe.
hungry. Maybe. It probably might even be easier during work because then you're like,
Focused on something else.
you're not
As long as
sitting
it's
at
not, like,
home
super
going.
hot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Do it in
if
winter
it's
for
hot
him.
and hard work, that's different. Yeah, but if you're just busy, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But
I'm
anyway.
pretty sure I would faint if I was doing your job and not eating because like the heat
Yeah.
would just get to me.
That's what the water's for.
Thanks, Captain.
Yeah.
Cool. So
What-
are
yeah.
we? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's back to the book.
Yeah.
I'd say collectively there's things we wouldn't agree with in the book.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just a good jumping off point, I guess, if this is a topic you're interested in.
Especially if I
Gets you
thi-
thinking.
if you're committed, like you were saying, some people may not be good for, but if you are like a really committed person who I really want to improve my health, regardless of the
Or if
fact,
you're battling like cancer, for
yeah,
example,
yeah, like
probably a really good resource.
when you're
Yeah.
really motivated is my point. I think especially if you're the kind of person that you're very motivated and you haven't been exposed to a lot of health information in the past, I think it is an amazing primer because a lot of these concepts I was aware of, even if I didn't know them in as much detail as was shared or whatever, but I was aware of a lot of the concepts. But if you didn't know anything, this book would be very information dense.
Yeah.
Well, I even found this book to be somewhat of a summary in that it did provide information, but it was more like for like more information, go here. Like I don't know how many times they're like, go
Yeah,
to this
go here,
website,
go
go to
here.
this book.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's not a big book, so
no,
Yeah.
but it's a good little kind
Yeah,
of
good
encyclopedia almost of just
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just wrote down a few correlations. I
Yeah.
feel like you're rapping, so I just want to throw some of these out there, just because like if
Not that kind of rapping. Sorry.
Come on, like spit some lines.
I thought those days were gone. So they mentioned several correlations, right, between different elements that we've been speaking about and brain health. But I also thought it was interesting. So like it wasn't just brain health. So they were talking about like if you're not motivated enough by your mental health, nutrition and brain health are correlated. But they also talked about nutrition and libido being correlated. They also spoke about nutrition and other mood being correlated as well, so that's important, and the same is true of sleep and exercise, and I guess all of the other remedies as it's true of them as well. So basically what they were getting at, I think, is that if you treat your lifestyle holistically, that's going to affect every area of your life. So I just think, sometimes you might not be motivated by health until you get to a crisis, but maybe you're motivated by something else. Maybe you want to get control of your mood. Maybe you want to have greater libido. Whatever it is for you, like the basic point I felt like they were making over and over again in the book is that all of these things are affected by the choices that we make in our lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I think all up, we're saying we'd definitely recommend it. It's positive.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a good
really
read.
good book. Yeah. So
Be prepared to be offended, but that's okay.
yeah, exactly. So we're going to leave it there.
Potatoes.
Honey, man. Honey.
We're going to leave it there. But if you read the book, let us know what you thought of it. We'd love to hear what you think as well. Also, we are hoping to do one of these book reviews along with each season that we do. So we're going to read a book that's relevant to whatever the topic is that we're dealing with at that time. So hopefully we'll do more of these. And if you've enjoyed them, let us know, because it's good feedback for us. And if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend, and we will catch you guys for the next season. God bless.